The head chef has been poached by the restaurant next door, and we can't serve any meals. What should we tell the guests? The inn is fully booked today, and there's less than an hour until the guests start arriving. In the midst of this, the worst-case scenario has occurred. The head chef has left, and we can't serve any meals. If we can't make any sales, the inn will go under. Having supported the young landlady, Kate, closely, I could see how different she was from her usual cheerful self, and how desperate she felt. Thinking I wanted to change that situation even a little, I said to Kate, "Can I borrow a knife? You go ahead and guide the guests." Huh? Little did I know that this action would lead to such an unexpected development. My name is Dave, and I'm the head chef at a 3-star restaurant in a luxury hotel. The hotel is located in a quiet spot just a step away from the hustle and bustle of the city, and its elegant exterior is often compared to a European castle. When you pass through the lobby, you'll find the restaurant I've poured my heart and soul into. The walls feature rich wood grains, and the warm lighting creates a leisurely atmosphere, offering visitors an extraordinary space. It took me 10 long years to be recognized as the head chef in this restaurant. I started at the lowest position in the kitchen, polishing every inch of the floor until it gleamed and washing dishes tirelessly day after day. Long hours were a daily routine, and sometimes, feeling desperate, I would rework recipes over and over again, shedding tears and continuously testing new dishes, gradually improving my cooking skills. I listened humbly to harsh criticisms and constantly pushed myself to surpass my limits. These efforts paid off, and my dishes gradually began to receive recognition. And finally, our restaurant earned 3 stars. The joy of that moment is still vividly etched in my heart. It wasn't just about getting the stars, it was a recognition of years of hard work and dedication, signaling a new beginning in my culinary journey. On the day we received the 3 stars, my heart was filled with the exhilaration of accomplishment and the relief from past struggles. The atmosphere inside the restaurant felt different, and every piece of kitchen equipment seemed to shine. My confidence and pride in my cooking were at their peak at that moment. However, the days following the award were gradually overshadowed by feelings different from the initial joy. The pressure that came with the stars was heavier than I had imagined, and I felt crushed by it every day. Once you get the stars, the fear of losing them constantly lingers in your mind. Losing the stars meant more to me than just losing a rating. It was the fear of returning to that pool lifestyle and seeing all my efforts go to waste. The fear of losing the position I had gained through relentless effort and sacrifice began to eat away at me daily. This new pressure slowly drained my passion for cooking, making it difficult to feel the same creativity and enjoyment as before. Every day, I grew more anxious and tired as I tried to meet the ever-increasing media attention and customer expectations. It became a torment, and cooking itself started to feel like a burden. This fear gradually affected my cooking. I became afraid to try new things and stuck to conservative methods. I lost my creativity, focusing solely on not dropping the rating, and my dishes became more predictable. Naturally, this began to reflect in the customers' reactions, and in my desperation to cling to the stars, I started to lose my former brilliance. One day, the owner, Sean, had an exciting proposal. He suggested holding a tasting event with a famous chef, Mary. Of course, I knew about this chef. Her innovative and somewhat futuristic approach had attracted not only many fans but also significant attention within the industry. On the day of the tasting event, the venue buzzed with anticipation. Dishes crafted by her were laid out one after another on the tables. Beautiful presentations and unexpected combinations of ingredients. Everything was a testament to her creativity. Like the other guests, I was excited to gain new ideas from her dishes. The moment I took the first bite, I was utterly overwhelmed by the depth and originality of the flavors. Her cooking went beyond mere taste pursuit. It brought out the essence of the ingredients and breathed new life into them. The sourness, sweetness, saltiness, bitterness, everything was perfectly balanced, and each dish seemed to tell its own story. This tasting event was more than just a meal for me. Her cooking gave me a shock and excitement unlike any I had ever experienced. I felt that something inside me was changing, and I thought this might be the true potential of cooking. Back at the restaurant, I was thrilled to start shaping new culinary ideas inspired by the tasting event. Inspiration kept coming, and I felt an excitement where my hands moved on their own, thinking about how to combine each ingredient for the best flavor and which techniques to use to bring out new tastes made my heart race. But then, Sean appeared. Dave. Hey Sean, how are you? How was the tasting event? You must have learned a lot. It was more than that. I was so inspired by her cooking that I started working on something new right away. That's great. Then I don't have to worry about you going to another restaurant. I didn't understand what he meant, so I stopped and looked at him. Another restaurant? What do you mean? I asked him, but the words that came out of his mouth were unbelievable. I'm gonna have to let you go. What? It was an unexpected dismissal. Wait, you mean I'm fired? Yay, that's right. Why? Why do I have to leave? What did I do wrong? When I pressed him for answers, he explained. The tasting event held today was actually to officially scout Chef Mary, and the position prepared for Chef Mary is head chef. In other words, it was decided from the beginning to kick me out and bring her in. I was speechless. I never imagined that the position I had built over 10 years would be taken away in an instant. But he didn't offer me any words of thanks, and he didn't seem guilty at all. The only thing I could sense from his attitude was his great joy at bringing in a famous chef, which filled my heart with intense anger and disappointment. Is that so? I understand. Thank you for everything over the years. I tried to remain calm, but inside I was filled with a burning anger and a deep sense of betrayal. My steps were heavy as I left the kitchen, and an emptiness spread from my chest. Even when I got home that night, I couldn't sleep a wink, my mind racing. I was at a loss, thinking about my lost position and how I should live from now on. Looking out the window, the city's lights felt distant and cold, filling me with loneliness and anxiety. In that state, I decided to visit the inn that my mentor once took me to. Leaving the city, I watched the scenery change from skyscrapers to lush countryside through the car window, and my mind gradually began to calm down. When I think back to those days of being absorbed in work, I hardly had any time for myself. Standing in the kitchen from early morning until late at night, pouring all my energy into each dish, I never had the chance to take a leisurely trip. As I drove along the country roads, the blue sky stood out, and I could hear the murmur of the river. All of it provided a gentle comfort to my heart. The fresh air coming in through the window felt pleasant, and with each breath in nature, I felt the accumulated stress inside me being gradually washed away. Eventually, as the car climbed the mountain road, a traditional style inn appeared. At that moment, all my tension melted away, and I was enveloped in a sense of relief, as if I had been freed from a heavy burden I'd carried for a long time. It felt like I had finally come home after a long journey. However, the place had lost its former bustle. The building, now aged, had almost no vitality, and despite it being the off-season for tourists, there wasn't a single guest when I arrived. When I entered the entrance, the once beautiful but now faded and old-fashioned building caught my eye. As I pushed open the cracked wooden door, a woman who seemed to be a young landlady, Kate, stood there. You are probably surprised at how run down it is, aren't you? Well, I was a little surprised. I couldn't help but say that, and Kate laughed heartily. I'm sorry, but it's a building with an old-fashioned charm. Despite her young age, Kate was a confident woman who never forgot to be considerate of her guests. But we've already started renovating the rooms, so I think you'll be able to relax comfortably. I appreciated Kate's focus on guests' comfort over appearances, something unusual for a business owner. When my mentor first recommended this inn, he said, "This place is surrounded by nature, and it can calm your mind. If you ever find yourself troubled or feeling down, you should definitely visit again." Those words had stuck with me, and naturally, this place came to mind. When I told Kate that I was visiting on my mentor's recommendation, she was pleased, but her expression darkened when she learned what had happened to me. Oh, so that happened. I hadn't gone into detail, but she seemed to understand the gist of it. Kate showed sympathy. But wasn't that restaurant a 3-star one? She knew about the restaurant where I had worked, and looked momentarily surprised. Yeah, well, were you the head chef there? That's impressive. I tried to be humble, but she carefully chose her words and made a proposal. Life here is simple, but it's a great environment to start new. If you like, why not join us? Huh? Her sudden proposal left me bewildered, but at the same time, I felt a strong sense of connection, as if it were meant to be, and my mind was made up. Then, if you'll have me, I'd be happy to work here. Of course, we'd be delighted. However, I'm new to working at an inn, so please let me start with the basic tasks. I'll do anything, so please guide me. I conveyed my humble position. I emphasized my desire to start from scratch, no matter how small the task. Kate looked momentarily confused. Perhaps my proposal was unexpected. However, her expression soon changed to a warm smile. Understood. Then let's start with cleaning and making beds, and as you get used to it, I'd like you to gradually take on some kitchen duties. Her words conveyed trust and expectation, which was the most encouraging thing for me. Surprisingly, my new life as a cleaner brought me peace of mind. While cleaning the corridors with the scent of detergent, I remembered my days of washing dishes. Those days when I was washing dishes in the corner of the kitchen. That was the start of my cooking career. I still vividly remember the first time a dish I made was served to a customer. The smile and satisfied nod of the customer who ate my dish brought me the greatest joy. That moment ignited my passion for cooking. However, watching the head chef at the inn, I sometimes feel that passion fading. His kitchen is, to put it bluntly, sloppy. Ordering mistakes are a daily occurrence, and the staff's work attitudes are lax. It's as if there's no discipline at all. As a former head chef, I can't overlook the lack of cleanliness in the kitchen and the careless handling of ingredients. It's no wonder the quality of the food drops. Honestly, I can't imagine making good food under such management. Sometimes I feel frustrated with the current situation, but now, I'm stepping away from all that to find a new sense of purpose. The cleaning job is giving me a fresh perspective and valuable time to reflect on my past. That time is now supporting me. One day, a new luxury hotel opened nearby. Needless to say, the presence of this hotel was a source of concern for us, and Kate was worried that our already limited number of guests would decrease even further. How could we highlight the charm of our inn and keep the guests coming? Various ideas were being tossed around at the inn. One day, after finishing cleaning the restroom, I was approached at the entrance. "Hey, isn't that Dave?" I turned around to see Sean, the owner of the hotel where I used to work. "Sean, long time no see. What are you doing here?" "I'm working as a janitor." I wasn't expecting anything, but I thought he might at least say something like, "Oh, you're doing your best." But what came out of his mouth were words I couldn't believe. "A janitor? And in this dirty inn with no guests?" Sean laughed loudly. "Not only can you get any stars, but you can't even get guests. Don't touch the food with those dirty hands." His eyes were cold, enjoying how far I'd fallen. It was a waste of time to deal with someone like him. Just as I was about to leave, he said something shocking. "You're really a jinx." I didn't understand what he meant, but I soon found out. The new hotel was owned by Sean. It's obvious this inn doesn't stand a chance. It's only a matter of time before it goes under. Everyone's miserable because of you. This inn will soon face some misfortune too, I bet. Sean's words pierced deeply, but all I could do at that moment was watch his back as he walked away. When the tourist season started, the inn became extremely busy. Guests were checking in non-stop from morning till night, and the lobby was bustling. I started early in the morning, cleaning guest rooms, organizing common areas, and sometimes even tending to the garden. But even among all this, Kate supported the inn with incredible energy. She was always smiling, greeting guests in the morning and seeing them off at night, giving each guest personalized attention. Especially during the busy breakfast and dinner times, her efficiency shone. She handled table settings, special requests from guests, and maintained coordination with the kitchen. It was hard for me to understand how she managed to keep smiling while handling so many tasks. Her presence was a comfort not only to me but to everyone who visited the inn. To get through this busy season, the inn needed someone like her who could brighten the entire place, and her value was immeasurable. One time, the young landlady said to me, "I love the inn. Plus, as the innkeeper, I feel I should be the face of the inn, so I think I always need to have a smile on my face." Then she asked me, "Dave, Do you think there's any meaning in people meeting each other?" Her words left me puzzled. Honestly, I didn't think such a thing existed. If there was, what was the meaning of my meeting the owner of the hotel where I used to work? Was it just to be treated horribly by him? I honestly don't know. I've had experiences that made me unable to feel any meaning in meeting people. I answered truthfully. Kate, maybe out of consideration for my past, just nodded silently, but eventually, she started speaking quietly. I believe there's always a meaning in people meeting each other. Each guest who walks through the gate of this inn, it's not just a coincidence, it's a fateful connection. Out of so many inns, they chose to come here. There's nothing more joyful than that. That's why I feel it's my responsibility to provide the best hospitality, to make this place unforgettable for our guests. Every time I hear words of gratitude from our guests, it confirms that I chose the right path, and it's a moment when everything pays off. And I believe that by continuing to fulfill this responsibility, our inn will become a place people want to visit again and again. Each of her words resonated deeply with me, making me realize how self-centered I had been in my work. As a chef, I spent my days chasing stars, prioritizing my skills and honor above all else. I lacked the serious consideration for the customers that she had. Along with the embarrassment, my past actions began to look increasingly negative. I wondered if I might no longer deserve to hold a knife. At that moment, such thoughts crossed my mind. A week later, on a certain day, the head chef didn't show up. At first, we thought he was just late, but as time passed, anxiety spread among the staff. Kate, while trying to keep the staff calm, was inwardly worried that something might have happened to the head chef. That day, the inn was fully booked, and while we were busy attending to the reserved guests, we discovered a shocking truth. The head chef had been poached by a luxury hotel. The sudden event devastated all the inn's staff. It was a situation that could affect the inn's reputation. We frantically tried to contact other chefs, but no one responded. The other staff members couldn't grasp the situation and were starting to panic. Amid the chaos, Kate kept making calls and sending emails, but no one replied. Finally, she couldn't bear it anymore and broke down in tears. Her appearance was so different from her usual self that it was unimaginable. Her tears weren't just of sadness but came from a deep love and sense of responsibility for the inn. Seeing her in that state, I made up my mind. I could clearly see what I needed to do, what I had to do. Can I borrow the kitchen and a knife? With that, I hurried to the kitchen. I quickly checked the available ingredients and started planning the menu in my head. Washing vegetables, filleting fish, and cutting meat, I swiftly got to work. I quickly put the pot and pan on the stove and started preparing the meal. My experience as head chef really came in handy. Using my experience as a head chef, I followed basic procedures to keep cooking going smoothly, even if things weren't perfectly prepared. However, the heat in the kitchen became more intense as time passed. Sweat dripped from my forehead and my grip on the knife grew weaker. Occasionally, I felt dizzy from the heat, but the sense of accomplishment with each completed dish outweighed the discomfort. In the midst of this, Kate appeared in the kitchen, her expression clouded with concern. "Why don't you take a break? Don't push yourself too hard," she said. I shook my head. The desire to help this inn, its guests, and Kate drove me. It wasn't just a duty anymore, it had become a mission. "I'm fine. This is what I can do," I replied. Despite saying that, I was worried if my body would hold up. But I pushed those fears aside, grabbed a spice bottle, and moved on to the next dish. I continued cooking tirelessly in the sweltering kitchen, pouring sweat. I carefully adjusted the flavors of the soup and ensured the main dishes were not only visually appealing, but also heartwarming. By the time I finished all the dishes, my entire body was weighed down by heat and fatigue. Though I felt a sense of relief, there was no sense of accomplishment, only immediate reflection. The balance of flavors, the beauty of the presentation, none of it was perfect. I wondered if the guests were satisfied. Shortly after, I was called to the guest room by the front desk staff. Nervously approaching the table, I was greeted by guests with smiles. Their faces showed satisfaction, and their eyes sparkled with happiness. One elderly lady started speaking enthusiastically. "Your cooking was absolutely wonderful. It's been a while since I've had such heartwarming food. Thank you so much." Her husband next to her nodded in agreement. Yeah. The flavors were deep, and each dish had a perfect harmony. The dish that utilized the local ingredients was especially unforgettable. It was truly delicious. Their words slowly washed away my anxiety. I appreciated them deeply. Thank you very much. I'm really glad you all enjoyed it. I also heard various words of praise from the other guests around the table. Each word felt like recognition of the effort and passion I had put into this night, making my heart feel lighter. At the same time, I also realized there were many areas where I needed to improve as a chef. While gratefully accepting their compliments, I knew I had to further pursue deeper flavors and better presentation as my next challenge. As I left the dining room, I headed back to the kitchen with a renewed determination. Using tonight's experience as fuel, I was ready to take the next step. Every day was a new challenge for me as I restarted my journey as a chef. The local customers' reviews began to spread by word of mouth, and reservations started to increase. I was working tirelessly from morning till night. However, even in the midst of this busy schedule, I made sure to find time to try out new culinary ideas. For example, I experimented with new seafood dishes using fresh fish caught by local fishermen and salads made with seasonal vegetables, constantly striving to delight my customers' palates. One day, as I entered the kitchen early in the morning as usual, I noticed that none of the ingredients that were supposed to be delivered had arrived. Kate contacted each supplier, and I decided to go directly to the local market. After talking to people at the market, I found out that the ingredients we usually purchased had recently been traded at unusually high prices. As I investigated further, a surprising truth came to light. Sean, the owner of the restaurant that had fired me, was buying up these ingredients at high prices from the market and deliberately obstructing their delivery to our inn. While it made business sense for the market to prioritize higher-paying customers, the blow to our inn was immeasurable. Anyway, let's try to source from other regions. Yes. Also, let's negotiate directly with local farmers and see if we can secure even a little bit of the ingredients. While we were troubled by the shortage of ingredients, a black luxury car stopped in front of the inn, and an elderly man in a black suit got out. Wondering what was happening, Kate and the staff became agitated, but to my surprise, the elderly man was my former mentor. Master Tom, what brings you here? Well, I heard the rumors. I wanted to taste your cooking again, and you came all this way. I could hardly believe Tom had come all the way to taste my cooking. Both Kate and I were genuinely happy that Tom had made the long trip, but at the same time, we felt a deep sense of shame and frustration. As a chef, it was the most embarrassing situation to not be able to provide satisfying dishes at this moment. However, when Kate explained the situation and we apologized, Tom smiled and said, "If you're in trouble, I'll help you out." With those words, my mentor immediately sprang into action and headed to the local market. Drawing on his years of experience and connections as a chef, he secured hard-to-find ingredients. The market folks knew his name and were ready to meet his requests without hesitation. But that wasn't all. He also personally visited nearby farms, arranging for fresh vegetables and fruits through direct conversations. I was once again struck by how amazing he was. By evening, Tom had returned to the inn with almost all the necessary ingredients. Thanks to his help, we were able to serve dinner that night without a hitch, feeling relieved but also anxious. Standing before the ingredients my mentor had painstakingly acquired, I pondered what dish I should prepare. It wasn't enough to just make something delicious. This had to be the perfect dish to express my gratitude to him. Despite the pressure, I resolved to use everything I had learned from Tom to create the best dish. While I was preparing the food, Kate went the extra mile with her hospitality. She meticulously set the mood for the meal, taking Tom's preferences into account, and provided top-quality service at the end. The table setting was done with precision, ensuring that my mentor had the best view from his seat. When the dish was finally ready and I served it to Tom, my hands trembled slightly. However, the moment he took a bite, a look of satisfaction spread across his face. He slowly savored the food and, after finishing, nodded deeply and said to us, "Your cooking remains outstanding. With this taste, customers will definitely come back. Tonight's dish, in particular, shows your growth not just in skill, but in the heartfelt hospitality that comes through. Hearing these words, I felt immense relief and joy. Thank you so much. I'll continue to provide the best hospitality at this inn. That day's events marked a significant turning point for the inn. Tom's words held great influence in the culinary world, and the reputation of our inn's cuisine spread even further. As a result, many new customers started visiting, and the inn saw unprecedented success. Several gourmet magazines and articles featured us, and with each interview, more people learned about my cooking and the inn's hospitality, leading to reservations being booked months in advance. On the other hand, Sean's luxury hotel was facing a decline in reputation, causing his customers to flock to our inn instead. Moreover, Sean's misdeeds began to come to light one after another. It was revealed that he had not only sabotaged ingredient procurement but also engaged in unfair competition against other hotels and restaurants. Furthermore, numerous issues such as mistreatment of employees and neglect of hygiene management were exposed. As these wrongdoings were reported, the number of guests at Sean's hotel rapidly decreased, and eventually, he couldn't sustain the business, leading to the hotel's closure. Sean himself was sued for various violations, including breaches of commercial practices laws. His actions were severely condemned in court, resulting in a multi-year prison sentence, and his reputation was utterly destroyed. Kate proceeded with the renovation of the inn, transforming it into a shiny new facility that attracted a fresh clientele. A strong bond of mutual support developed between us, and eventually, we started dating. Thus, we embarked on a new chapter of our lives. Free from the pressures of past ratings, we now focus solely on our love for cooking and making people happy. The inn has become a local landmark, beloved by many. Kate has reaffirmed her commitment to sincere, community-based management and aims for further development of the inn. To live up to Tom's evaluation and trust, I am determined to maintain the quality of my cooking and consistently offer the best hospitality. One day, as we walked through the inn's tranquil garden, we stopped under a cherry blossom tree and looked up at the full bloom. Beautiful. Yeah, it is. I gazed at Kate. I'm really glad I came here. If I hadn't met you back then, I wouldn't be who I am now. Me too. Without you, this inn and I wouldn't be the same. Meeting you was the beginning of all the changes. The meaning of meeting. What? I really understand now the meaning of people meeting each other. Kate smiled joyfully at my words. Then we started walking again. While the road ahead may be full of countless challenges, we now move forward step by step, cherishing our gratitude and the meaning of our meeting. A gentle spring breeze wrapped around us, bringing a sense of a new beginning, as if blessing our future.